Hey, did I do that or it was you, Stefan?
Well, I kicked
Oh, okay.
Firefly out.
Uh, no, you kick Firefly? Did you kick Compliance Cow Recorder or I
That
did?
yeah, as well. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so for compliance car, I get a pop-up that says they're uh requesting authorization to
Yeah.
record something like that. I just said no.
It was so funny because it mentioned in the chat
Yeah.
you can do start recording, and so I'm like, okay, what if I go stop recording?
Yeah, well, they pushed that because I said no. Some passive aggressive stuff where I'm trying to get people to
Yes.
complain. It's a bit weird. Uh, Not many folks yet, but it's three minutes past, so let's get started anyway. Welcome everybody to the Tuesday, April 14th SIG Multicluster call. And we have well, I don't know. It could be a big topic from Arthur. Arthur, do you want to start? Do you want to share your screen, or is it okay if I just leave mine?
Sorry, I had my mic muted. So, yeah, it's fine. I don't have anything to share, to be honest, except the text here.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's like two subtopic-ish. um, so, for instance, on Cilium, we don't always sync the endpoint size to the Kubernetes API from remote clusters, and we have some kind of annotation to force that if you want to. And we have some default behavior, like if you are using a headless service, we expect you to want to sync endpoint slice because you can't do anything without it because the way we handle DNS and stuff. So this is the export path, right? So, and this is currently specific to our implementations, and possibly we could expose that knob as a standard field. And for the import path, this, I don't know if it would be useful, but I imagine it could be useful as a gateway API implementation. Because of the way the spec is made and the endpoint slice syncing is optional, you don't know if you can rely on the fact that all the endpoint slices are synced. And if you want to have like a really reliable way to make it work with MCS API, you have to rely on the IPs. But this means that you don't control your backends directly from the load balancer gateway thingy. And thus, I'm wondering if we should make that information available in the service import. Like it could be a simple bool saying, hey, the endpoint sizes are available. You could use it if you want to. So yeah, that's the topic. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of folks here, but
Yeah. So what's the reason that Cilium doesn't sync everything? Is it for scalability?
Yeah, and historically, we never did sync the endpoint slice like from the features before MCS API called global service. We just have that info in our data path, and we don't need to reflect that in the Kubernetes API. So yeah, like reflecting that on the Kubernetes API is only for DNS purposes or integration with other things. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so in a sense, really what it means is that, and that's allowed by the spec. I mean, endpoint sizes can be an implementation detail.
Yeah, well, it's fully optional, so
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's fully optional, but yeah, the fact that it is fully optional means that it's difficult to act on it. So that's the service import part. Right, and then if you really want it to be exported, then have something on the service export that says I actually want endpoint slices, because yeah, you might have something running on the import clusters that doesn't know about the exporting clusters, so it can't say anything there, but it actually wants endpoint slices.
I'm not sure I follow here. Like, what do you mean?
Well, so imagine, so if you have if your entire cluster set controller, whatever that is, knows that you need endpoint slices, then it can do the right thing on both ends. But if you have something, say you have a gateway API implementation that really wants endpoint slices, only running on an importing cluster, then that you can't rely on some automation there to set the right thing on the exporting side to say that the importing side actually wants endpoint slices.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like my stance on that would be that it should be globally consistent some place. Well, I mean, there is a sub problem with that, which we could say instead of being globally consistent, we could say on the export side, I want this cluster to export endpoint size, but not this one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that it should be possible for only one importing cluster to say I want endpoint slices, but not have them anywhere else. It's just that if you had well, I mean, the KEP tends to be written from the perspective of having something that's like a multi-cluster controller that knows both sides. So anything that the controller knows it needs on the import side, it can do on the export side. But this is one example where you could have something. There's a use case for having something that's only running on the import side, and so it can't influence the export side. And so it's up to something else, like the administrator, to know that because they want Gateway API with endpoint slices on their importing clusters, then they need to set the service exports to specify that endpoint slices should be created, or it would be
Yes.
something else. Because, well, yeah,
But I mean, if we make like the default being implementation defined, you could even think of a global default in your implementation that say, hey, I want to always export stuff or things like that. Or hey,
yeah,
I don't actually support that you don't export endpoint size, so I will reject it if you make it false.
yeah, yeah. If we take that as meaning I absolutely don't want endpoint slices.
Yeah. Um, and I mean, it could be, and well, it's two sub-subjects, so we could say, hey, the import path looks interesting, the export path looks a bit more complicated, or I don't know. Or we could do both at the same time. I don't
Hmm.
mean care.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the use cases make sense to me at least. Obviously, well, like you said, there aren't many people in the call. Actually, there's more than earlier. Um, so I suspect well, I mean, this is it would be a fairly small change to the KEP, so it's probably best just to open a PR,
Yeah, yeah.
and that way we can get feedback from Gateway API folks for the serverless import side.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds good. By the way, I think like well, I haven't actually tested it, but I think a couple of gateway API implementations support MCS API, and one of which is Envoy Proxy. And
Hmm.
um, well, I someone asked in some CDM Slack that hey, it's not working, and apparently it just needed to have the endpoint slicing. So I don't think that Envoy Proxy relies on the IP. Just go directly to endpoint slice, for instance.
Okay.
Well, assuming the people that asked didn't have other things, but
Yeah.
I told him to sing the endpoint slice, and then it worked. So probably it's that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I will
Right.
create a cap whenever I will have time to do it.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so moving on to the next topic, which is a quick one. I just opened an issue to track the release of 050, which should be a fairly minimal release. This is for MCS API. So I'm trying out following the cluster inventory API release process. So in cluster inventory API, there's more automation around releases because they publish images. MCS API doesn't. But I still think the laser consensus model is good. So we'll have, unless other stuff gets merged in between, here and in 2 weeks' time, I'll cut the release in 2 weeks' time unless somebody objects. And so far, we've got improvements to the conformance suite, and the major one is V1 beta 1. So the main goal of 050 is to make V1 Beta 1 available to consumers. And Arthur's V1 Beta 1 PR prepared 050 there already. So thanks for that. All right. So
Uh,
yeah, so
just
yeah.
one thing. I don't know if you saw my message on Slack about the release. It's well somewhat related, but not directly. Um,
All right.
like
No,
it's
I
about the
didn't.
sub module. Um, so I can like summarize it. Like the apparently Go doesn't take the tag, the main tag for every submodule,
Yeah.
and you have yeah okay
Yeah, there's a pattern for them. So it would have to be
yes
conform for the conformance suite, it would be conformance dash something. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and so I was asking on Slack if you could tag
add the missing
the
tags.
041 for the conformers and the controllers things.
All right. Okay.
Because like in Cilium we use Renovate for stuff,
Yeah.
and
And it takes care of that.
currently, yeah,
Oh,
but
okay. It
currently
ignores
it tries
the.
to bump the submodule, but not the main one because it's not tagged. And it obviously doesn't work because controllers and conformers depends now on V1 beta 1, which are not yet a thing in the latest tag. So it fucks up the big things.
Okay, right. I'll take a look because I was under the impression that for submodules, if there wasn't a prefixed tag, it would just use the main one. I'll take a look.
Well, maybe we fucked up something, but in Cilium, in our Go mod, we have 00 dash something on with the SHA instead of
Okay,
the correct
a
version.
tag. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And last topic is mics.
Hey, thank you, Stephen. Just first of all, I want to say we performed the cluster inventory 0.1.0 release. So thank you, everyone. It went extremely well. It was all the hard work that everyone. Oh, it actually launches to the Slack. Yeah, maybe you should close it because it is in case anything private. Yeah. The only thing that is not working quite well is it auto pushes the image into the GitHub container.io Kubernetes SIG subspace, which is a pretty good neutral ground for everyone to pull the images from. But unfortunately, it's automatically set to private. And even if you're an admin of Cluster Inventory API, it seems like based on organization access, we are unable to change it into a public image. So I'm just wondering if anyone have any experience regarding um, this type of. So I think because Steven, you're a part of the org, so you can see it. But if you were go to like private browsing or whatever, you wouldn't
Yeah,
be
it
able.
wouldn't work.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah, because
asking
this
for
is.
some feedback, experience if anyone have dealt with something like this before. And I think Laura already chimed in this morning, so maybe we'll just go with that thread for now. But if anyone have some second opinions or comments, please feel free to share it here or in the Slack thread. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or yeah, asking on GitHub management.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for
All
me.
right. Thanks. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that because obviously it's useful if the race process publishes images, but it's not that great if people can't actually use them.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So that was the end of the topics. Does anyone else have anything they would like to discuss? I'll take that as a no. So thanks everybody for joining and see you next time. Have a good rest of the week.
Thanks. See you around.
Bye bye. Thank you.